First Missouri, now Illinois. Can we be honest, Abe, about the Twins right now? We're not enjoying the play, Mrs. Lincoln. Rocco's subs fell behind by 9 runs in the third inning against the White Sox on Monday, so the manager substituted out Byron, Buxton, and Carlos Correa for their own protection. You know who's next? You are, unless you get locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer since at least the Twins knew how to beat the White Sox. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace's Brandon Warren, who's going to try and sub himself out of this show after the first segment, if I let him. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. Dreams do come true. On the podcast today, the Twins are 0-4, if you've heard, and they didn't even have to bother playing more than a third of the game against the White Sox on Monday before they decided it was time to give up. One thing you might have noticed also, why does it still seem like it's 2024? The Twins have tried to the Twins tried to have the sheriff evict 2024, but it still won't leave. 2024 is a good lawyer, I guess. Willie Castro had a better pitching performance than Paddack or Ober, or even Pablo, really. Is that a problem? And the Twins haven't gone 0-4 since 2016 when they started 0-9. That's not going to happen, is it? Oh, wait, you come to us for the answers. Well, we'll get back to you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. So get to FanDuel and start dueling now with other fans.
Do you ever, like old baseball Twitter, we spoonerized everything, right?
Yeah.
So like Dan Fuel instead of FanDuel. But my favorite one was Kraft Dings. We don't need to say the company's name because they're not an advertiser. I don't even know if they exist anymore. But Kraft Dings used to always crack me up. Dan Fuel is not quite as funny, but Kraft Dings is pretty good. Anyway,
I feel like I just had a little Kraft Ding, a little salami and breadstick and cheese.
I think Chris Paddack was the wrong guy for the job. Chicago is notoriously a lawless town. So why would you bring the sheriff in? No, I'm kidding. But it's really hard to overstate how ugly it got and how quickly it got. And
ugly.
These are not your White Sox of a year ago, year younger of yourself version instead of your older brother. I'm saying it looks like a different White Sox team. I still don't think they're any good at all. But boy, the Twins
I think your analysis is probably spot on.
The Twins rolled over and let them pet their bellies like they were a dog.
It was it's not good. Do you like my idea? I have another good idea that I slipped in there. Rocco Subs. If we had like a wacky t-shirt company like Obvious Shirts in Chicago, Rocco Subs would make a good and some kind of vegetarian sub that has no meat in it in the lineup or something like that. I'm workshopping it, but
based on how they're hitting, and I shared this with you, and it'll be on the telecast tonight maybe. Willie Castro hitting 357, 400 on base, 786 slugging, and the rest of the team 116, 182, 161. I mean, it does not get much worse than that. And besides that, through a scoreless inning. So I mean, did you see any of the readings for Savant for those pitches?
You know what? No, I was just checking out the radar. I didn't really see any more detail than that.
Well, it got pulled over on I-94 and told to speed up. That's how slow it was. There's a minimum speed. Slowest pitches in Twins history, StatCast era. I think the slowest one I saw was 33.1 miles per hour.
Astudillo?
Yeah. No. Castro's were slower than Astudillo's. Castro's actually had to signal a turn on the way to the plate because it was a curveball at 33.1. And just ugly. Ugly. Right.
Yeah, it's I don't know if we exhausted all the ways to get Willie Castro's pitching pulled over. We don't want it pulled over because it's the only good thing about the game yesterday. So we want it to be a scofflaw and avoid the police at all costs. But so the Twins are 0-4, and it's, as Carlos Correa said, it's not so much losing the games, although that's bad. It is, how they're playing. And he kind of explained it. Carlos Correa knows how to explain stuff, even if he can't get on base himself right now. He's like, well, guys they hit the ball hard the first time, whatever, it doesn't work. The next time they go up there, they try and they hit it twice as hard and get out of their comfort zone, and they end up falling right into the hands of a pitcher like Martin Perez, who was throwing, 89 yesterday and making it look like he was Johan Santana in his prime. So that's kind of what's going on with the Twins. Nobody wants to hear it because all people want is they want him to play better, but they want a victory too. It's not something great when you come off 2004. When they lost a whole bunch of games at the end of the season, they were 17 games over 500 at one point, and then finished 12-27, something like that. Yeah, exactly right. The math works there, Dave. So it seems like 2024 is still here. It seems like the same. Now I know that can't be true. They changed things in spring training, how they do their preparations, making it more of a team thing. They talked about in the open how we don't want that to come back. I know they don't want to play like this. It does almost look like a curse, or kind of malaise, a yoke, if you will.
Yeah.
And Paddack, that's the last time I listened to that guy, because he was like, I still have ace qualities. I'm going to go. I know I can be better than I've been. I'm going to go out there and be the worst I've ever been. 9 runs. He even walked 4, gave up 3 home runs. It was completely. I mean, he wasn't trying to pitch bad, but it looked like it.
Yeah.
It looks like they play like they don't want to win. I know that's not true, but that is how it looks.
When 2020 happened and then 2021 wasn't magically better when the calendar flipped, I always joked, oh, it looks like this is 2020's +1, the year. That does feel like this season right now is just as kind of continued on. And I don't think there's some cleverness to it in the fact that the roster is largely the same. And so fans choosing to eschew the idea that it's only 4 games or whatever, they're seeing the same team, they're seeing the same product, they're seeing the same result. And so that's why they are as uptight and upset about a 4-game skid, wherein, you and I both say, in August, if you're 10 games over and you drop 4 in a row, yeah, people start grumbling. People are concerned just by the nature of being Minnesota sports fans, but it's amplified, it's heightened this early in the season. Now, again, I'll say this though, a lot of people getting their jokes out, a lot of people saying all these things that are far too hasty at this point of the season. But you know what? You got to kind of just let them be, because a fan is a fanatic. It's not someone who's going to be rational about things. I just, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to get beyond the cheap laughs portion of my existence, and I'm still not doing a very good job. But oh yeah, the Twins are 0-4. That doesn't mean it's time to oh, season's over. When do the Vikings start? It's just not funny to me either.
No, it isn't funny, because one of 2 things. So either they're going to turn it around. It's too soon to make those kinds of statements, or they're not going to turn it around. And we've got 158 more of these.
Well, my contention is it's going to get better or it's going to get worse, but it won't stay the same. And I don't know. I mean, ride the wave, I guess. I don't know. I'm just frustrated.
I was thinking about this as I was walking my dog last night, looking for some kind of sliver of optimism about this. And, I found it, the story of the game yesterday really was Rocco subbing out Buxton and Correa after the bottom of the 3rd inning.
Shift change.
I think he saw Buxton leap for that home run by Michael Taylor. There's irony all over the place. And fall down and go, you know what? It's really cold outside. We stink at the moment. We're not going to win this game. I've got to get Taylor or Buxton and Correa out of the game. I think it was.
Yep.
But I don't think he was necessarily sending a message to the players. He certainly wasn't singling out Buxton or Correa for their effort or for any reason. He wasn't singling any individual out at all.
Right.
But I think there's still a message conveyed there that, guys, we are not very good right now. So bad that we are going to give up basically 18 outs that we have left to come back on the White Sox, who we beat 12 out of 13 last year. We're not going to even bother. We're going to go get them tomorrow, and you better be ready for it. I think that's is communicated with benching, not in a malicious way, getting those guys out of the game with 6 innings to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing people struggle with too, is like leadership takes different types for different people. Like everyone leads in a different way. And Rocco, I don't think is ever going to dress down a player for an error or mistake, but he will impress upon them the importance of not doing it again or not doing what caused it, because he's a process guy by nature. So yeah, and that's just it too. Like people don't really understand the subtleties of leadership, like lead by example, lead by, doing the right thing, or lead by keeping your, we call it flipping your lid at our house, when you no longer have control of your emotions, but you don't do it where other people can see that you have done that. So like in baseball, that emotion control is huge. And for whatever reason, fans are like, I just want him to throw something. And like, I think that goes to show like the average coping skills of a human being these days is, I get mad, I throw something, suddenly I'm not mad anymore, or I'm mad, but now I've also broken something. Like that's not how any of this works. And if you have a person like Joe Mauer or Rocco Baldelli go off the deep end shouting and swearing, people are going to look at that like, what? This is not this guy anyway. This is fake. This is eyewash. And so I don't know. I just get just
using Jose Miranda as an example, not anything about his results so far. Jose Miranda needs to know, let's just say that he wasn't doing his best. He needs to know that from Rocco. They need to have that communication together. The fans don't need to know that Rocco is letting Jose Miranda know that you need to step it up, buddy, or else.
But what about accountability? Whatever happened to accountability? Wait, that's not
such thing as accountability for that with fans. Fans and ball teams accountability comes at a different level in different ways. That doesn't.
But that's all anybody wants, even though they don't know what it is. It's like when you're the third kid in a family and the older 2 kids are getting something. You don't even know what it is, but you want it. You want it right now. And it's like, what? I
want right now is our first break.
Yeah, I think that's probably good. A little cool down period so that we don't jump through the screen at each other. I'm kidding. March Madness is here, and it's not just the March Madness you're feeling towards the Twins. FanDuel wants you to get in on the action like never before, because right now new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, if such a thing still exists, and even who's cutting down the nets. I'll tell you what, Dave, my championship teams on both sides still in the mix. Paige, Beckers, and UConn. Gotta love the hometown girl. Hopefully she gets her championship. And then Auburn. So I'm doing good, and FanDuel is certainly a big part of that. So I had my eye on some underdogs, but ultimately I had the champion being Auburn. FanDuel, though, made it easy to make all my picks across the board with spreads, totals, game props, you name it, they've got it. And tournament games, we've had them happening for now well over a week. There's always something you can bet on, and the FanDuel app is simple to use. When I win, I get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. That's FanDuel.com and that FanDuel app. You're muted, Dave.
Not anymore.
We are so back. Maybe it is
back now. We're back now that I'm muted and we're back. Well, I wasn't saying anything anyway.
It's 2024 again. But you know how
2024 again.
You know how the kids say, Simeon Woods Richardson pitching for my team today. We're so back. We're so back.
I think somebody did say that.
Yeah,
that was a tweet today.
Yeah, you need to cough into the mic, and then we'll be right where we were a year ago.
Kauffman Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where was I in my notes? We're talking about the Twins. Paddack was bad.
Yep.
So, I mean, at some point,
you mentioned the velocity drop. Did that concern you?
yes, it concerned me, and I think it also could. I shouldn't say this out loud. I don't know that anybody asked about it after the game.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, and it's not like much happened after he left. McCocken and all the other.
Brandon, you're going to have to watch your mouth.
It reminds me of how my little man said pumpkin at Halloween last year. Now we're 6 months and he's getting 6 months ago. He talked differently than he does now, but he would say guckin. Guckin. And it reminds me of McCocken. And so we walk him to daycare and there's pumpkins on everything. Oh, guckin. So I still say that to him, and McCocken makes me think of that.
He actually, I saw a couple of his pitches. I honestly, I wasn't paying that close attention after they chopped the top of the lineup off and took Paddack out of the game. But I did see a couple of McCocken pitches, and he was getting it in there pretty good. So it was. I don't think that Willie Castro actually did have the best pitching performance yesterday. That's a little hyperbole or hyperbole. Yeah. I think it was actually McCocken, and that was good. It's good that Willie Castro didn't have the best pitching performance of the Twins.
Well, and McCocken, soft tossing righty, but he brings, like, I don't know if it's angles or hides the ball, but he does. You watch him and you sense that even though he's not gonna, take your nose off if he catches you velocity wise, it's an uncomfortable at bat, and so I think that is the sole reason he's at the level he's at, is he knows how to pitch at that velocity. Because you go in and look at his pitch effects and his StatCast stuff, and you're kind of like, what am I missing here? And then he goes out and gives you, I think it was like 2 2/3 scoreless, and looks generally pretty good, and doesn't get DFA'd after the game, which I think a lot of people expected too, because he's on options.
Hey-o.
Hey-o.
Yeah, well, McCocken makes the rookie minimum, so it's not a Randy Dobnak type salary.
No,
so it's not exactly the same situation. But it does go to show, it's possible the White Sox had maybe lost a little interest or concentration at that point, up 9-0, and seeing Correa and Buxton leave. So it's like, all right, we'll put it on cruise control. So allowing for that, the Twins do have a good recent history of being good. And I just thought of examples of where they weren't. So maybe I'm correcting myself already, of finding pitchers in the margins. This maybe reminds me a little bit of Blewett last year, or some other guys that have come
Matt
up.
Whistler. They had Luke Farrell for a while. Like, they've had guys. It goes back to Jared Burton. I mean, they've had, and again, different front office, but teams who are going to succeed have to develop pitching, but they also have to find it. Like, they find pitching, and the Twins are pretty good at that.
Let me contradict myself immediately, though, because I just remembered all of the guys who were left-handed who pitched for the Twins last year, and they did not help. Not one of them. So, and I don't know how many times Stephen Okert has gone out there, but I think I saw 2 innings and no runs so far, something like that. Or an inning and 2 strikeouts and no runs. And I was kind of wondering where that was in 2024. So it isn't 2024 everywhere. Some places the page has turned to 2025. So that's why they got Coulomb to pitch left-handed. I think he's going to be an improvement if he ever gets into a meaningful game where they have a lead to protect.
And for those unaware, Stephen Okert is pitching for the Astros, who will be in Minneapolis for the home opener on Thursday. So may get a good look at the Oak Ridge boys and company.
There's a reunion that
do you
nobody was asking for.
Do you think they'll play a montage for him when he comes in for the first time in the series?
You're funny. You're cruel and funny.
Surely I jest.
Do you have any good memories of Stephen Okert?
Yes, actually I do.
Was it Twins Fest Live?
When he was DFA'd. No, my favorite part was the end. Whoa, really? What part? When it was over, Statler and Waldorf.
He was all bad.
No, no disrespect to him. I mean,
even though we just did.
Well, and I don't mean that in the sense that I was glad to see him go. Hate to see you leave. Glad to see you go. I I don't remember how that goes. But no, it's just it didn't work. And you know what else didn't work? Nick Gordon in Miami. It was just a lose-lose trade. Nick Gordon and Okert both end up signing minor league deals in the offseason, and somehow Okert is the one that makes a team. Although it's funny, I did tweet after he didn't make the Orioles, I won the Breaking Bad gif of Bryan Cranston. Like, he blocked me here when he was a Twin, and I'm like, you know what? I won. I'll be here long after you're gone.
The Twins made a couple of trades last year that were looking like lose-lose. The Jorge Polanco trade, but Justin Topa, it hasn't been like huge situations or high leverage, but he's come in and gotten people out so far. So that is not terrible. I know I got a bright spot around here somewhere.
Well,
Brandon.
Darren Bowen is going to Double-A, I think, and they still got Gabby Gonzalez somewhere, and so I don't know. They haven't lost the trade altogether, but like it's going to take a while to parse it out. You know, sort of like people are lamenting Brent Rooker and Chris Paddack, even though Rooker's 2 teams post Padres and Paddack has been hurt, and it's just like sometimes you just got to let it go. Like, let it go to break.
Fine.
All right.
Break it.
Break it. And if you break something and you need supplies, the place to go is Supply House. The supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, you name it, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. They have an easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, meaning you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5, that's Sam Horn 5, for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. You like that I changed it up with Sam Horn instead of Sterling Hitchcock?
I did. I like the that's even going back further in time to 1993 or so.
Yeah,
Sterling Hitchcock's more like 95.
Yeah, let's see if I'll dig into my SH bag a little more and see what I can find moving forward.
Well, don't dig too far into a bag that starts with SH because it's going to stink.
Yeah. There's poop again.
I saw the Cardinals lost yesterday. They got rid of the Twins, and they can't handle the Angels. Fans are complaining about all kinds of mistakes the Cardinals made. Walking too many people. Isn't that hilarious? I mean, it was a different pitcher than face the Twins, so you can't really. Somebody was trying to connect the dots with Rocco yesterday. Hey, have you seen a commonality between all the starting pitching performances so far? And Rocco's basically like, no, they've all been bad on their own. I mean, he didn't say it like that, but it's like
so was it Miles?
Their own traits. They don't. One does not have anything to do with the other. So
yeah, it must have been Miles Michaelis starting, who I thought might get opening day if Sonny Gray wasn't ready. But yeah. The media tries to do that with Rocco a lot, and he's just kind of like, nah. Like in 2019, it was like, you ever get the feeling hitting is contagious and blah, blah, blah. They're hitting all them home runs. And he's like, no, these guys are just good. You know, like they hit for power, and the baseball has a bouncy ball in the center of it this year for some reason. And so he does not fall prey to those baseball tropes whatsoever. He has no time for them.
The Twins tried to make something contagious, but it just got Bailey Ober and Edouard Julien sick. So they're going to have to work on their contagions so far because it only makes people ill. It doesn't.
What is St. Louis style pizza? Is that something they may have gotten into?
You don't know about St. Louis style pizza?
I don't know.
It's really thin cracker crust. It's kind of like Chicago tavern style.
Yep.
Very crispy. But St. Louis style also has this something called Provel cheese. So it is some kind of genetically modified, I don't know if genetically is the right word, I don't know if it's provolone. I mean, it sounds like it might be, but it's terrible. It's a cheese that melts in a good way, like mozzarella does in the oven. So you don't really have provolone pizza because of how the cheese melts. It doesn't really work.
Right.
But Provel will melt, and then it will melt your intestines. So that's what St. Louis style is traditionally. So
this is a
St.
pizza
Louis does
upgrade.
have a lot of Italian people in it, and they do know how to cook.
Yeah.
As long as they don't use Provel cheese in their pizza, it's good. But it's like cracker style crust.
So this is a huge pizza upgrade going from St. Louis to Chicago. Even if you don't like Chicago style, it's still a huge upgrade. And it's also Provel, not Provis, who is from Chicago. There's layers here.
There's layers on your pizza, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Twins, I don't know. That was my first guess too, that Bailey Ober got some bad Provel pizza, and that's why he was barfing up all over the place on Friday, and then Sunday when they played figuratively as well. So
yeah.
But today, Simeon Woods Richardson goes. Not to put it all on the kid, he's got one season in. This is still his first opening day a few days ago, so he's still new here. But again, like with the other guys, yeah,
John Mulaney bit. Are you new in town?
He could use a decent start from him, and usually he's good with that. He's good with getting through the first few innings unscathed with no scathes, and then like the
especially
fourth or fifth,
early in the season,
he'll give up what?
Especially early in the season, he kind of wore down as the season went on last year, and so if that's it's kind of like Jose Barrios, who he was traded for. They used to talk about how he would wear down, and the question was if he actually trained too hard in the off season, because he had those, like, it wasn't the Cespedes barbecue video, but he had, like, he's pushing, a Mazda Miata or a Ford Pinto on the beach in Puerto Rico, or I don't even know if Mazda Miata is the right thing. But he'd be pushing whatever car he could find, or he'd be like, running with children hanging to his legs. I don't know. Like his workouts were prodigious, and people thought maybe he was wearing down towards the end of the season. It'll be something to monitor with SWR, and hopefully he comes out of the gate strong, because I think from a pitchability standpoint, like a guy who knows how to pitch standpoint, he is well beyond his years.
I agree. It's one of those things that I enjoy watching him go up there, and look forward actually to the farther future where he's got more experience. I think he's going to be a much better pitcher at 28 than he is now. So, which I guess isn't that unusual, but I look forward to the improvements that SWR makes. The White Sox are pitching a guy named Shane Smith, who has really good stuff. He was a Rule 5 draft guy. So he's got a big breaking ball and a fastball. And, does he have the command to keep it over the plate and not have it go out of the ballpark? Kind of a guy that's a lot of times what you get with Rule 5. So the White Sox, their Rule 5 guy worked out. The Twins did not.
If the Twins don't hit him, are you more concerned that they didn't hit him or Martin Perez?
I mean, I can see how Martin Perez, Jose Quintana, these guys aren't throwing a million miles an hour. They're able to get you out by other means. Yep. So I don't. It's hard to say exactly whose fault is what, but it's time for the Twins to score some runs. I think Buxton, if the wind is favorable, I say Buxton goes deep today. I say the White Sox or the Twins eventually get to rookie Shane Smith, maybe in the fourth inning, and break through
7-3.
And get a win today.
I'm going to say
7-3. Sure, that's a good Twins score for an SWR start. I don't know if that means there's a save in it for Duran or Jax or whatever, but I'm going to keep. I don't feel very optimistic about the Twins. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't feel great to be watching them and have them be 0-4 after thinking they were going to win the division. But I still think it's going to happen and certainly could happen. So,
it's my outlook hasn't changed. My feeling of how they're playing now is woof. But my outlook as far as do I think they are and can be a good baseball team, not much has changed after 4 games. It's just a matter of how quickly they turn things around. And, if it's not against Chicago, then it is like, oh, man, Houston's going to be quite a bit tougher than Chicago. And then from there, there's no easy way to dig out of a hole if you dig a deep one. And, we saw that in 2016. They finished 59 and 103. But here's the hoping they don't dig such a deep hole that we have to worry about that happening again, because as much as fans are like, oh, here we go again, this team is light years better talent-wise than any of those teams. It's just a matter of like, when do they start executing on the field? I understand people have questions, people are upset, but like, it's not over. The sky isn't falling. It might be starting to rumble a little bit, but the sky is not falling.
I think we can just let those people speak their piece and let it kind of fly over our heads or at our feet or wherever it goes.
Yep.
Let people get emotional. If that's how you enjoy the Twins, I mean, that's okay. That's how you should enjoy your team. Just keep in mind all these things we are saying about how it's.
Yeah. What was it? What did we say?
April 1st.
The crack of the bat, the smell of the hot dogs. These are the things baseball fans hate the most. Like, I keep coming back to that with how the Twins are playing right now, and I don't blame people.
All right, we're going to push you out here. You have to go. So thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast with hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew Anay. The fantasy season is in full swing, so be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Twins and Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Hopefully it's where you listen to this one.
Yeah.
So for Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown wishing you all a very pleasant good evening, saying we will Alexei Casilla after the next Twins game. It might be tomorrow night. I don't know. Making it up as we go.